Okay, I've been meaning to post this video for so long, but I have been in the middle of making a move, going on a long-term trip to Puerto Rico. So I'm here now. That's why it's taken me so long to post this part 2. And so I'm gonna post it. The background is different. Some of the sound, the mic is messed up, so I'm sorry. I'll try to just fill in with captions, but I hope you enjoy this, and let me know who you want me to do next. Okay, welcome back. We're going to talk about Michael Jackson's natal chart again. If you missed the first video, I'm going to leave a link in the description, so go check that out. And what we're discussing basically is why are we all obsessed with Michael Jackson, and what is in his chart natally that is delivering this illness that we cannot escape. Anyway, so in a lot of his prominent placements, we spoke heavily about his ascendant in Pisces, and we also discussed a little bit about aspects to his ascendant with Pluto. If you don't have a basic understanding of astrology, I will provide some narrative on what some of these things mean here, but this is not an educational video on the foundations of astrology. If you're interested in that, then let me know in the comments. Okay. What I want to talk about today is there was someone, I want to shout out Fela Prudence, who pointed out a really fascinating position of Michael Jackson's chart ruler in Scorpio, so we're going to talk about that today. Thank you, Fela Prudence. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. We're going to talk about that because we're going to just layer in some of the obsessive qualities in Michael Jackson's chart. We're also going to talk a little bit about his 10th house, which rules his legacy, his reputation, and his career. And I want to talk a little bit about some Chiron. Okay? And then, yeah, we still have not touched on his Leo stellium in the 6th house either. And Leo ruling kings and fame, certainly an influence in his notoriety. Anyway, let's start with his chart ruler in Scorpio. So let me open up his chart. I'm doing a Western chart. 9-house reading. So Michael Jackson is a Pisces rising. Chart ruler is the ruler of the entire chart, and the chart ruler is decided by whatever planet rules the house that is in the first house cusp. So since he has Pisces in the first house, his chart ruler is Neptune. And Neptune is in the house of Scorpio. I mean, I just think that we all can recognize that Michael Jackson has a unique magnetism in that he has the capacity to make billions of people absolutely obsessed with him under conditions that don't even provide the ability to be in contact. Anyway, and so the fact that his chart ruler is in the house of Scorpio, and Scorpio rules obsession and things that are taboo, among other things, in the underworld, I think that kind of lends to his to the obsessive quality that we see related to him. In addition to that, his chart ruler is also in a perfect sextile to Pluto, and Pluto is the Dark Lord, and it rules obsession and death and these other things. On top of the fact that Pluto is also conjunct his natal sun, so there's a lot in his chart that's indicating that there is. There's taboo, which we know Michael Jackson's legacy includes deeply taboo subjects, particularly related to sex, which is also a Plutonian theme, and that we cannot stop thinking about him. I think a lot of people, when they are exposed to Michael Jackson, even if ever so briefly, can't get enough, and I think that's all a Plutonian influence. Okay, so chart ruler in the sign of Scorpio, sextile, obsession, obsessive qualities, obsessive things, death, sex, and taboos. We also know that I'm trying to see with the 5th house. Yeah. I'm thinking about taboos in relation to the allegations against him, but maybe I'll save that for a different video. The next thing that I want to touch on, so I think we've already discussed it at Liberty, the obsession aspect of Jackson's chart. Another thing that we can't discuss Michael Jackson's astrology without talking about his Leo stellium. So Leo rules kings and royalty and fame. And he has 3 of his planets in the house of Virgo, the 6th house, which is ruled by Leo. So I think if you do any research into Michael Jackson, you would know that he's a perfectionist or was a perfectionist. Very particular about the way things were shot, about his dance moves, and all of the very habitual practice that he was forced to do as a child during his development, and then imposed upon himself as an adult to perfect his craft. And that's all very Virgoan sort of behavior. He is a Virgo sun, but he also has a stellium in the house of Virgo. So there's a lot of daily habituation of Leoan things, right? Kingly things, performance, visibility, being seen by others, because his 6th house of daily life is ruled by the sign of Leo, which is kingship. And that house is ruled by Virgo, which is hard work, detail orientation, and obsession with minutia. But he has Mercury there. He has Mercury in Leo, Venus in Leo, and Uranus in Leo. The Venus and Mercury are more interesting to me because they're not generational planets. They move slower. So the way that he speaks or communicates or receives messages has a certain grandiosity, allegedly, and also the way that he expresses his beauty. So a little bit, if we think about, he was very cutting edge with his style of dress, and obviously his fashion is iconic. It's one of the many elements of his brand that makes him so interesting and legendary. But when I think of him, I think of all of the gaudy sort of sparkles, shine, shimmer. I mean, when he debuted the moonwalk during the Billie Jean performance at Motown, was it 1970? Was it 1982? I'm going to get that year wrong. But in any case, that's when he first kind of debuted the shimmering jacket, the shimmering socks, the shimmering glove, and all of that sort of like shininess is like Leo glitz and glamour. So his beauty orientation is very much geared toward, again, that royal sort of crown-like, one-of-a-kind, grandiose expression, aesthetic, I would say. Okay, so stellium in Leo, so that there would definitely be some fame or propensity for performance in his chart. And then, just to keep this more brief, I guess the other thing that I would point out about Michael Jackson's chart would likely be about Saturn in the 10th house. So just discipline with regard to the relationship that he had with his father. He has Saturn, which rules father figures and discipline, conjoining his midheaven, which rules your career and your legacy. So they're in the same exact place. And Saturn also rules restriction in his 10th house of legacy. And 10th house is the highest point in the chart, so that's where you're seeing. Anything that happens there has the greatest visibility to the wider public, not your inner circle, but your greater audience. And so that to me looks like a father, an authority figure imposing discipline in the area of life that is to do with his legacy. And we all know that his father was a very imposing figure. What's also interesting is that Saturn is sextiling Chiron. A sextile is a helpful aspect, and Chiron is wounds and healing. So this one's a little bit tricky, but I think that the fact that it's not a good thing, but the difficulty that he experienced being raised by a disciplinarian who was obsessed with success is a point of helpful karmic healing in his chart, because there's a helpful aspect between Saturn and Chiron, which suggests that healing that or that Chiron wants to heal that, or that's I don't know, that's sort of, it helps him heal. It helps him heal. It's not that it wasn't easy or that anyone would wish something like that upon someone, but there's a helpful relationship that Chiron is offering to that area for some reason. Yes. This feels like a non sequitur, but I'm going to add. Chiron, if we linger on Chiron for just a moment longer, we can also see that it is squaring, so this is a non-helpful aspect, Mars and Taurus, which is the house of siblings. When I first saw this, it made me think of his Chiron is an Aquarius, and Aquarius is weird. It's a weird sign. It's the sign of outcasts, geniuses, and those who are ahead of their time. And it's in his 12th house of hidden things. And Mars is in his house of siblings. And they're squaring each other. So it looks to me like, and we can also see this depicted in the film, but it's also in his chart where he felt very different from his siblings. And maybe he felt like an outcast. Maybe he felt like he wanted to separate himself. This wasn't necessarily depicted in the film, but I have seen it in other biographical content about him. I can't verify the truth of it or not, but if I had to interpret this aspect, Chiron squaring Mars and Taurus being resources. I also wonder if there's arguing with siblings over resources or the desire to have greater independence from the family or the closer community or network over how resources are gained or shared or whatever. But there is a healing journey that he has indicated in his chart concerning his relationship with his siblings, or even you could say how he communicates, because the third house is communication, so he may have felt like there were things that he wanted to say, but maybe he thought he would sound stupid or weird because of that Aquarius square. Let me see if there's something else that I want to touch on. Okay. Oh! Okay, I know I said this already, but I'm going to add one more. This is my last one. The last thing that I think is fascinating in his chart is he has Venus opposite within a 2-degree orb of Chiron in his chart. And Venus ruling beauty, wounds, to me looks like there's wounding in, if we put the two together. There's wounding in we know that he struggled a lot with his appearance. He had a lot of surgeries. He had vitiligo, and so he struggled with, changes in his skin. He wasn't happy with his appearance. There is speculation might be an understatement, that he struggled with an eating disorder, which is why he was so thin. The designer of the iconic red leather jacket in the Thriller music video is said to have intentionally made the shoulders more broad in order to give him a more robust appearance because he was so frail at the time, or very slight, I would say. I think frail might sound like a more clinical term. But anyway, so having what should I call it? Anyway, ruling wounds, opposite Venus ruling beauty and appearances and aesthetics, definitely speaks to the frequent change and highly scrutinized change in his appearance over the course of his life. So there was a lot of pain there with that. I think that one could probably interpret that was painful from the outside, but I think that he experienced a lot more pain with regard to his appearance and probably what was said about his appearance or how it was seen, more than we really realize. Let me see. But then, on top of that, though, he did have a trine from Saturn to Venus. So I think that you might say that he was also really disciplined around Venusian things. probably very particular about like what he ate or what he wore or what styling products he used. Yes, very meticulous and controlled about how he came across. Very curated. It says that he's very curated about his appearance. And he enjoyed his daily life. He probably had, I don't know, I would imagine somebody with Venus and Leo in the 6th house with like a canopy on it for no reason or whatever. Even though, I don't know, something like that. Yeah. Well, there's more, but I'm winging it as usual. Anyway, thanks for coming back. If you want to see part in the description, and if you enjoyed this, let me know who else's birth chart you want me to interpret. Maybe we could do Janet next. I keep thinking about her. She's all over the media again now because of her brother's rebirth, so to speak. And if you're interested in a personal reading, I'm now opening up. I have availability to accept personal readings. I'll leave the link to that in the description as well. And I really look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments because everything that you guys were saying in the last video was really interesting. So I want to keep talking about it. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!